Here.
Yeah.
Here.
This is on.
Here.
Mine's on.
Just adjusting the microphones here. Let me see if I can get this one. Okay, so we'll share this. In the meantime, if anybody from our TV crew thinks they have a solution for why Councilman Moore's mic isn't working, that would be good to know. It's great to have volunteers taping the meetings, as always. We thank them from behind the scenes, David Chilson and his son Daniel from Tappan Zee High School. We have an agenda tonight that was largely hashed out prior to our last workshop meeting, and so much of the items that the board has already discussed. But the meeting will start with a couple of items which are new. One is a presentation, then we'll have public comment, and I have a sign-in sheet here, and when we get to that, obviously we'll go by our usual process, and if anybody didn't get a chance to sign in, just raise your hand. So without further ado, and thank you to Esther Baitler for helping us out with the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to invite members of the AOH and Joan Rourke specifically to address the town board and let us know how things went at St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Thank you, Town Board, for letting us speak tonight. We just want to come tonight to thank you for all your support, all your services, for helping make this a very successful cultural event for Rockland County. I have with me the co-chairs of the parade, Mary O'Sullivan and Bill Lee, and we all just want to say thank you so much for the services, Orangetown services that have been given to us to help make this a safe parade for everybody. I would like to present certificates of appreciation to Chief Nolte and Superintendent of Highways, Jim Dean. We also have certificates for the town board and the other services that have helped us. Unfortunately, Jim Russell, my counterpart, is not able to be here because of a family emergency, and he only gave me some of the certificates, not all of them.
It's all right. It's definitely the thought that counts. We greatly appreciate it.
So we will be getting them to you. So thank you very much. Is Chief here? No. Right?
Our Superintendent of Highways is right here. So Jim, you have to stand in for Chief Nolte and everybody else.
I'll pass them on to the people that do all the work.
Again, thank you very much for all your services. Cleaning up that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you and good night.
It's great that you came in. Please give Jim Russell our regards. And our 8 departments really did do a great job with the parade, and of course the parade organizers themselves. We had a great day out there with the St. Patrick's Day Parade this past year. So thanks for everybody for helping out with that. Next on the agenda would be our public comment period. Following our usual, I'll make a motion to open public comment period. Do I hear a second? Valentine, all in favor, say aye.
Joan Moore.
The ayes have it.
Joan Moore.
First up is Esther Baitler. Esther?
Good evening, Supervisor Annie Stewart and town board members. For the record, my name is Esther M. Baitler, and I'm a consumer who lives at the Kathy Lucan Living Center. I would like everybody to vote against the no tax. It is toxic and it causes cancer. I would also like to know what really is going on with our sidewalks. I have not seen any action. I have seen several accidents on 340. So I would like to hear from the board as to what's happening and where we're at on it.
We could take a minute right now if you want to finish up, and perhaps Jim Dean could just give us a word
I
or two.
just really think that we need these sidewalks.
Thank you for that. Just a second, Jim, would you mind just updating us on the sidewalk project? Because
Jim has really
isn't-
worked hard on it.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Esther. Thank you, Esther. Actually, it's pretty good news. Everything, we believe we've submitted 100% of what's required from us through our consulting engineers to the New York State Department of Transportation, and we're actually anxiously awaiting their approval to go out to bid. Good news is, last week, we got approval to go out to bid on the Pearl River project downtown. Actually, the bid packages are in our office, and the bid document has been out. We're hoping for contractors to come in and pick that up. So hopefully within another 4 to 6 weeks, we'll get this approval. Everything's set to go. Once we get that, it'll be advertised, it'll be out. We're really anticipating that we should be able to get out to bid by the early summer. That's the case, and everything goes well, we should be able to start construction end of August, and that gives us a good chance of getting it done before this winter. Depends on getting back the final approval from DOT.
So final approval from the New York State Department of Transportation?
Department of Transportation, yeah.
Right.
But we're pretty sure we've got everything taken care of.
That's great. We'll look forward to that. Thank you for filling us in on that.
Okay.
He has worked very hard.
He did. He's wonderful. All right, and thank you, Esther, for bringing that up and making sure that we stay on track with that. Genevieve Coffee.
Good evening. I'm Genevieve Coffey from Pearl River, New York. Several years ago, I attended one of my first planning.
Yeah, thank you.
Several years ago, I attended one of my first planning board meetings. The chairman of the planning board said I could not speak. A voice from the end of the table said, "Ms. Coffey, what do you want to say? Mr. Blank cannot deny you your right to speak." I had no idea who this kind, professional man was, but later found out that his name was Robert Dell. Unlike my experiences with town officials, including our current town supervisor, who did absolutely nothing to correct violations of our town codes, Mr. Dell believes in the well-being and the future of Orangetown. Mr. Dell is not obligated to any special interest. Mr. Dell is very intelligent and is exactly what the taxpayers of Orangetown desperately need. I speak from my experience with the planning board and ask the board to do the right thing and reappoint Mr. Dell to the planning board. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you for that comment. Amy Wertheim.
Good evening. Amy Wertheim from Pearl River, New York. I'm here tonight to tell this council that hell hath no fury like a community scorned. You have, without any regrets, have taken our community down a slow path to pollution and carcinogenic air. To coin another popular phrase, we are mad as hell and we are not going to take it anymore. We have had enough arrogance and apathy to last a lifetime over the past 8 months. While we in the Stop Anelitech movement did extensive and exhaustive research, including the reading of the entire town code, the town board councilman flunked the first test. The community is fearful of this project, and it has been ignored. I'm not going to read the whole town code 2-1, but I am going to do some highlights. Land developments adversely affects the desirability of the immediate area and neighboring areas, and by doing so impairs the stability and value of both improved and unimproved real property in such areas. Promote and protect health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. That's in your town code. I took the time to listen once again to the broadcast of the January 28, 2015 town board meeting. Here are some of the quotes. Orangetown has the most conservative board in the county. Thank God for this oasis. We need to be careful what they let into town. What's the future of Orangetown? but I am interested in keeping it a commercial piece of property. I do not want schools there. I don't want certain types of residences there. I don't. I was at the gym recently and was approached by a woman who I take a group class with. She grabbed my arm and told me that she saw the broadcast of the planning board meeting on April 22nd. She wanted me to know that she appreciated the 40 or so people who spoke out against Anellatech. Then she told me she was at a seniors meeting and one of the town councilmen was present to speak to them about Anellatech. She told me that the message was clear. Anellatech's risk is better than having the community be exposed to residents and schools that aren't compatible. The councilman said, the Anellatech is not that bad. What is meant by it's not that bad? To prey upon people's fears is despicable and wrong. To ask members of the community, particularly seniors, to choose between possible cancer or perceived undesirable neighbors is as low as one can go. It is my mission and the mission of others over the next several years to replace those of you who do not have our best interests at hand and vote only party lines with total disregard for the health and safety of the residents, with members of the community who are clearly independent thinkers and aren't afraid to stand up against the bigotry that has been cultivated here. The only necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
Michael Mandel.
Good evening, Supervisor Stewart, members of the Town Board. For the record, I am Michael Mandel, a resident of Pearl River. I am speaking tonight as a resident and not a member of the Planning Board. The town has a duty to the residents to review and revise the town code as it refers to zoning, as the Anellatech case indicates. There are sections of the current code that are open to interpretation. We must revise it so there is no ambiguity as to what is permitted in each zone. Businesses that are not suitable for the community should be prohibited and historic buildings protected. In order to accomplish this, not only should the town departments be asked to review and contribute suggestions, but also the members of the planning and zoning boards. All revisions should be open to public hearings, but first, presentations should be made at public meetings and posted online so that residents of the community can review, study, and discuss proposed changes, so that educated and productive comments can be made at the public hearings. One last comment, these meetings should not be conducted during the summer months. The next thing I'm going to speak about is regards to comments I got made to me regarding my statements at the last meeting. Secondly, the soccer fields must be open to all residents of the town first. These fields were built on lands purchased by the taxpayers of this town with the idea of building the soccer and baseball fields was proposed. It was advertised as for the children of this town. The purpose was to provide exercise, activities, teach sportsmanship, how to accept winning and losing, and structuring free time for our kids to keep them out of trouble, including drugs. If the town stated it would be built for 2/3 Orangetown children and 1/3 for out-of-area children, including New Jersey, would these fields have ever been built? I think not. It's time for the town directs OMM to sit down with FCC and devise a schedule for our children. If necessary, appoint a specific person or persons not affiliated with either league to make a decision to ensure the children of the taxpayers of Orangetown receive priority. One last note, you hear people stating, I and others are trying to destroy OMM programs such as buddy ball, recreational soccer, as well as the newly proposed kitty kicker. This is not the truth, and in my opinion, those who are saying that are lying and trying to confuse the issue. These are great programs that are utilized by Orangetown youth. We're talking about the world-class travel soccer that is comprised mostly of out-of-town players. In fact, OMM is trying to make amends and covering up their violations of the lease agreement by adding new teams comprised of older local youth to compete in the Northern County Soccer Association, composed of Rockland and Bergen County teams. Take care of our children first. In other words, should be the rule, not the exception. And one last thing, I'd like to commend the board for, and hopefully they will pass support for the project graduation and resolution to New York State to appoint a state monitor to oversee the East Ramapo School District. These are both projects that are good for our children and our future of this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Joanne McElligott.
Joanne McElliott, Pearl River, New York. Last Wednesday night's planning board meeting was the worst possible day for the good, hardworking people of Orangetown. Up until the very last hours before said meeting, members of Stop and Elotech rang the doorbells of their neighbors, many of whom they never knew before that moment, to let them know of the true intentions of what the future may bring. Some had not heard of an Elotech before, some had, but each and every one had the same question: why? Why are they coming here? Why are they not being stopped by someone, anyone, from any of our town boards or elected officials? I wonder that same question. Are the individuals who have been voted in to support and protect us unintelligent? No, they're not. Are they uninformed? No, they were very informed. The members of Stop and Elotech were quite diligent in their quest to unearth every fact and present them to these individuals. So, if they are intelligent and informed, why would they vote for such a thing? Why would they willingly allow a cancer-spewing reactor to be placed feet away from our lovely town? The town board decides on who will make up the members of the planning board. The head of this committee, Mr. Garvey, acts like a pompous, condescending ruler, with Sweeney, Bond, and Young sitting back looking quite bored, while only Mr. Dell and Mr. Mandel asked real, vital questions. Thankfully, the latter two were intelligent to know that they were receiving nonsense from an Elotech and gave them a resounding vote of no. The others, well, you already know how the others voted. Due to them being assigned these positions, it is unlikely that we can do much to get rid of them. However, Mr. Bond is another case. He is on the Pearl River School Board and will be running for re-election within weeks of this meeting. Well, luckily for the people of Pearl River, we have a very educated individual who will be running against him. We intend to get rid of him first. Unfortunately for the members of the town board, we can vote you out. Andy Stewart was the only board member to speak against an Elotech. However, the others did not at all. Mr. Moore and Mr. Valentine have re-elections coming up. Your upcoming fundraisers and golf outings are all over Facebook. Perhaps you should have used more effort in speaking against an Elotech instead of planning your future with the town board. But don't worry, once we get rid of you, we're on to the other two, Mr. Troy and Mr. Divany. I'm sorry, but due to your lack of protecting the people, when applicable, we'll be firing you as well. I moved here 25 years ago thinking that this was the very best place to live, and up until I heard of the word Elotech, I still thought that. However, who wants to live and raise families in a town where a chemical plant is? We did not sign up for living in a community like Tom's River, where we know all too well what happens when toxicities are allowed. How dare you play Russian roulette with our lives?
Eileen Larkin.
Good evening, members of the board. I also should like to follow up with the town codes. I glanced at the town code books, and some of them codes go back to 1966, 1974. One of them is about gas stations. 1988, flood reduction. 1966, fire prevention codes. 1977, ethics code. That's a very interesting one, because I think what part of that should be that any elected official or appointed should publicly announce whether or not they have ever received any political contributions or intend to bid on any of the jobs that come before them. 1981, noise. The code that allowed an Elotech to produce BXT sounds to me to be very outdated and somewhat open-ended. Why do I say this? Because at the meeting, our town attorney, Mr. Magrino, kind of fudged and stuttered a little bit in trying to explain under our town code, and I failed to write down what code he referred to. Research and development in an LIO zone, and he fudged it, something about parking. And I wonder when that code was last updated. It's very important for our town codes. As you know, I served on the town board for 5 years and also served as a civic association president and sued the town a couple of times for what they intended to do to Palisades years ago. But on the other hand, if any of our codes are challenged by people from an Elotech or whoever, and our codes are not up to date according to state guidelines, or environmental codes that are out there today, our town is in danger of losing that challenge and therefore being sued, which usually costs a lot of money. And I dare say nobody better mention the five-letter word beginning with an M, because I will go after them immediately. But anyway, that is not my Achilles heel, but I will definitely go after anybody who mentions it tonight. As I said before, even if there is no bad effects of Anelitech, the fear has already been imposed on us. And therefore, the people living in that community, their lives, they'll wonder, they'll be concerned. The people that came out to speak obviously are very intelligent people that we have here in Orangetown, and we should be very proud of the work that they did. I think it's Sadowski said to me in private, the reason they settled here, and I believe they don't live in Orangetown at all, I believe they might live in the bordering states. His wife did not want to live in Schenectady. So therefore, they had to look for another site, and we were chosen for that site. I'm asking you tonight that, one more minute, that Mr. Troy
Finish up,
wants
there
me
you go.
to stop, but I won't.
Oh, you can finish up, right?
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Let her finish her
So
sentence.
we're going to be left with this. I agree with Mike Mandel and Mrs. Dell and Mrs. Coffey about Mr. Dell, and also I agree with you on item number 3. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Okay. Guys, thank you very much. Heather Hurley?
Heather Hurley, Pearl River, New York.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Town Council members. On January 28th, 2015, we heard what you had to say in regards to the Anelitech proposal. Mr. Moore, when speaking about some of the zoning board's behavior from the January 21st ZBA meeting, you stated, "It is important that they show the respect to the public." Do you think your appointed planning board chairman, Kevin Garvey, and Bruce Bond showed an ounce of that on April 22nd when Mr. Garvey sarcastically commented to me, "Thanks for the 500 emails," as he laughed with Mr. Bond at the close of the Anelitech portion of the meeting, thereby devaluing the right of the public to submit comments and vital information to them? This emailed information was actually sent to school some of these people on the board, especially since one of them on March 10th asked Anelitech, quote, "The products are not for sale, but they're applied to wood pellets at a pellet producing facility?" Mr. Young had 6 months to learn that Anelitech is in the business of manufacturing benzene, toluene, and xylene. They're not applying their products to wood pellets. Mr. Troy, you stated twice on January 28th that you're trying to protect the town. Does that not include protecting the town from toxic chemical plants, which have yet to disclose all emissions to the public and answer all of the public's questions surrounding their process? When speaking about Orangetown, you also stated, "Thank God for this oasis." Well, what type of oasis do you think will be left when this company expands and begins to burn municipal solid waste and recycled plastics, as stated in their own words in their application to the regional council? And what will be left of your oasis when you don't even know their redacted answer on the same application about what stage their facility will be in 5 years? That application only mentions Pearl River. It does not talk about plans to license technology somewhere else. They talk about here, in Pearl River. Have you all read through Anelitech's slide presentation from their application to the regional council that was emailed to all of you on April 12th? Mr. Divney, you stated on January 28th, "We would be the final decision makers for the town, and I think we as a board have to let this play out before we make a determination on what is best for this town." While Mr. Valentine, you followed up with, "We have to let it play out through the process before we get involved." Well, have you all let it play out enough? When is this board going to take action and get involved? When are you going to stand up against the regionalism that is being implemented in our town, stand up for the people who elected you into office, and give local government a voice that is by and for the people?
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Hurley. Ronnie Cummings. We appreciate the comments from everybody, and you don't have to talk about Anelitech if you don't want to.
Hello, gentlemen. My name is Ronnie Cummings. I work for the town of Orangetown, and I'm also the town of Orangetown CSEA president. I'm here in regards to item number 20 on page 9. It's appointing an assistant building inspector, an outside gentleman. I just want to make the board aware of the fact that you're violating our contract 3.2.2, that we have a gentleman who's eligible for this position, and he's been overlooked. So therefore, at the end of this meeting, if this is approved, I don't need that. At the end of this meeting, if this is approved, we will be filing paperwork and we'll be going further with it. And if we have to go to arbitration, we will. I just want to make you aware of it.
Thank you, Ms. Cummings. We appreciate that. Mr. John Buckley?
Good evening. My name is John Buckley. I live in Orangeburg, and I'm currently the president of the Board of Trustees of the Orangeburg Library. I'm sorry to interrupt the flow of the comments tonight. Tonight I just wanted to take a moment to mention some upcoming programs at the Orangeburg Library, which I believe will be of interest to the Orangetown community. This Thursday night from 6:30 to 8 p.m. to celebrate National Poetry Month, there will be a poetry workshop led by award-winning poet B.J. Ward. On Wednesday of next week, May 6th, from 12:30 to 2 p.m., there will be a lecture focusing on an introduction to backyard composting using kitchen scraps and other materials found around the home. On Monday, May 18th, from 2:15 to 3 p.m., George Wood, who is a retired NYPD detective, will present a program entitled How to Protect Yourself Against Frauds and Scams. Additional information about these and dozens of other programs can be found at the library website, which is orangeburg-library.org, and the library's Facebook page. Now, as part of the Great American Cleanup, the Orangeburg Library is participating in the 2015 Orangeburg Community Cleanup on this Saturday, May 2nd, from 10 a.m. to noon. Our director, Mary Kane, is the cleanup leader, and volunteers will be meeting at the library. Anyone interested can register at keeprocklandbeautiful.com. I believe other cleanups are also being held this Saturday at locations in Tappan and Spark Hill. I would also like to mention, for those who might be unaware, that the Tappan Library reopened a couple of weeks ago. They had their official reopening ceremony last Saturday. It was a great community happening, and Councilman Moore and Supervisor Stewart were there. Tappan's reopened, renovated library facility is beautiful and I think well worth a visit. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for those announcements and the update. Dimitri Lattis.
Good evening, Supervisor, Mr. Divany, Mr. Valentine, Mr. Moore, Mr. Troy, and Mr. Edwards. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I would like to echo the comments of some of our citizens here tonight regarding the Anelitech issue. I do believe what everybody is referring to is a missed opportunity for action. I think something that I know is very dear to some of you, the Lent House destruction that was also commented on, is another missed opportunity for action. And just to remind you all that as we move forward, we are still dealing with the soccer issue. We do appreciate your time, your energy in focusing on this. But there is an opportunity there for action. And I would urge you not to repeat the mistakes that have been made on the other issues. I also would like to take a moment to thank the Parks Department for the exquisite job in their stewardship of the town's fields. They really have been remarkably taken care of given the harsh winter that we had and the long, long winter. So my hat's off to Mr. Gorton and his department. They really did a wonderful job, and thank you for use of those fields. Thank you.
Thanks for saying that. Appreciate it. They do indeed do a great job. Mary Cardenas.
Good evening. I'm Mary Cardenas. I'm the Orangetown historian. I'm also museum director of the Orangetown Historical Museum and Archives. We opened 2 weeks ago, or nearly so, with a new exhibit called From Holland to Here. Its reception has been remarkable. We had a couple come in this afternoon, a mother and a daughter, and the mother told us this is a sophisticated exhibit that she would not expect to find in Rockland County. So I urge all of you to stop in anytime there's a car in the driveway. Please come in. I'll probably be there. In addition to that, I am working with the project manager over at The Point. This is in regard to the Seth House. I met with him twice, yesterday and today, and we discussed roofing. We discussed what he proposed to do, and he has my blessings. We will be in touch almost on a daily basis. I want to thank all the councilmen who worked hard on this project in saving this, I'll say, remarkable sandstone house. The reason it is so remarkable, it was built in 3 different periods, 1752, 1830, and 1776. So it has 3 different types of architecture. So I want to thank all the councilmen from way back when who have helped save this house. On a final note, I am also working on trying to save the John Green house in Nyack. It's Nyack's last sandstone house. So keep an eye open, and let's hope that this sandstone house can be rescued. Thank you.
Thanks for your work, Mary. It's really wonderful. We appreciate that information. Tom Sullivan? How are you?
Hi, hello, everybody. Just want to say,
You
I
could just
think-
kind of go a little towards the
Got
microphone
it.
because folks can't hear in the back.
Just wanted to say, many of us in the community feel deeply disappointed, but not necessarily surprised by the planning board's decision to not allow Inelitech to build this pilot chemical plant. Their history in this town of allowing these kinds of detrimental developments to occur, the list keeps going on. And the people who put them in their places where they can do this are you guys. So I'm wondering when you're going to start appointing people to these planning boards, especially the ZBA and the planning board, with the exception of Mr. Mandel and Mr. Dell. Are you going to start appointing people who are going to stop destroying this town? What the planning board did was plain and simple. They sold us out. And the people on this board here who did nothing, you sold us out too.
All right, folks. That's it for everybody who signed in by raise of hands. I'm seeing a hand in the middle, light blue. Chris?
So I'm going to be brief here. My name is Chris Smith, Pearl River. Echo a lot of sentiments of the people here. One, disappointed in the planning board decision. I asked the town supervisor, the town board, town attorney, we need to look into our planning and zoning laws. You know, if this isn't a wake-up call, I don't know what is. And I would hope the supervisor looks into legal options to see if there's any way to either slow down this project or to stop it. Obviously, by the outrage in the community, there's, you know, we need to look, you know, turn around and look under every rock, every stone, see what we can do. Thank you.
All right. Hands in the rear there, on the right, ma'am. That's you with the blue shirt. Thanks. Take your time.
My name is Tracy Obenauer. I'm from Pearl River, New York.
Could you just repeat your last name real quick?
It's Obenauer.
Okay, thanks.
I'm here tonight because unfortunately I couldn't be at any of the other meetings. And I am very grateful to the people who came and spoke out on all the community members' behalf. But I'm not here tonight to regurgitate facts that we've heard on more than one occasion, either at board meetings or in newspaper articles. I'm here with a warning. I think it's abundantly clear that the residents of Pearl River and the surrounding areas are vehemently opposed to Anelitech and all it has to offer. I myself am here tonight as an example of what happens to the people of a town when toxins are leached into the soil or pushed into the air or water supply. I grew up in Buchanan, New York. For those who don't know, it's a small town no bigger than Pearl River in Westchester County. My house was a mile away from Indian Point, 2 miles from a garbage plant, and 1 mile from multiple hazardous waste facilities. I called it the trifecta. I can remember as a child always being shocked when yet another student was diagnosed with leukemia or lymphoma. It just seemed all too frequent. Then there were the moms with breast cancer. Numbers too high to even wrap my teenage head around as I attended yet another wake for a friend's mother. My sister and I both became statistics of the trifecta. She was diagnosed at 22 with lymphoma, and I was diagnosed at 38 with a rare sarcoma. These crutches I use today are for the broken leg that I'm nursing back to health that was the result of aggressive radiation therapy to treat my 7-pound tumor. While I realize there are a few people probably rolling their eyes and smugly thinking, where is she going with this? You can't compare Anelitech to Indian Point. My point is, studies show that benzene is linked to leukemia and other forms of blood cancer, with no real consensus on threshold levels, while exposure to radiation is directly linked to sarcoma and lymphoma. Indian Point created cancer clusters, just as Anelitech is now poised to do the same in Pearl River. I am here tonight to remind the board that sometimes the decisions we make today come back to haunt us in the future, as we look into the eyes of our children or our grandchildren, as they're being poisoned yet again with chemotherapy or radiation. Children don't think about their yards or playgrounds being toxic. It's our responsibility as parents and grandparents to educate ourselves and protect them to the bitter end. Your decision to proceed, or the planning board's decision to proceed with Anelitech smokestacks, which was an egregious abuse of their power, and it is my sincere hope that your family does not become a statistic like mine did. Thank you.
Thank you. By raise of hands, Mr. Carmona, Manny.
It's Mr. Lorenas. Manny
Oh, I'm
Lorenas.
sorry.
It's okay.
You know, I was kind of
It's
connecting
okay.
Manny
It's-
to a different building inspector. I know.
No worries, no worries. Good evening, gentlemen. It's nice to see you again. You guys know me as a soccer guy, but I also stand with the Anelitech people. I go out and I teach kids soccer. But at the end of the day, that's not what's important. I tell them the most important lesson that you can learn from me is decision making. As they go forward in their lives, their soccer careers will come to an end. But their decision making will always be there. And I tell them, you make a good decision, you'll get a good result. If you make a poor decision, you'll get a bad result. And for me, that's something that they will take with them in their college years, even in their teenage years, when they're peer pressure. Do I take drugs? Do I not take drugs? Do I date this girl? Do I date that boy? All these things that affects their lives and how they live in the future. And right now, I feel sad that the town board has not made a decision to fight for the people in the community against Anelitech. I feel sad that you have not made a good decision so that in the future we can live our lives in a healthy manner. But the time has not passed. You still have time to make the decision to protect the community. You still have time to do whatever it takes to protect these people who are coming to you and asking you to please protect them. So gentlemen, I'm asking you to make this decision a quality decision, make a good decision so we can get a good result. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Would anybody else like to speak? In the far rear there, Mr. Morgan. It's like he's taking a shortcut around the back there.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Shelley Morgan, and I'm from Orangetown.
Welcome.
What I would like to speak is about the fields. The clubhouse is a gift to the town of Orangetown, and as long as the walls were part of the original foundation, it's a gift. Why can't the senior citizens use the building during the summer months? OMM does not own the building and does not have exclusive use for their sole purpose, and it should also be used as a community center. Water for the fields, you support the use of the fields, but when Orangetown and Tappan Fire Department asked the town to take care of the hydrants, you complained. Who is paying for the water and the full use of electricity for the fields? Friday night is supposed to be open soccer for residents of Orangetown. They pay a fee to play. Who is keeping the monies? By bringing in other organizations such as World Soccer League and now lacrosse, that does not fill their percentage of 85%, and by lowering percentage to 65%, does not help the use of the fields for Orangetown residents. OMM has not kept up their obligation to the town of Orangetown, and their lease should be terminated at the end of the year. Signs should be put up at all Orangetown parks for Orangetown residents only and can be enforced by monitors. Thank you very, very much.
All right. Thanks for those comments. By show of hands, anybody else here to speak? In the dark blue shirt there, sir. Thanks.
How you doing, sir?
How are you?
My name's Bobby Shannon, Pearl River, New York. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just want to bring it up a different aspect. Everybody's talking about the zoning laws for Anelotech, and I'm going to look at you guys, not going to read off paper, because I know what I want to say.
Appreciate that.
I'm a New York City fireman, and from a firefighter aspect of putting a benzene and these chemicals in a residential area, you're putting a huge hazmat situation just waiting to happen. Anelotech is a startup company, correct? Right?
I believe
so it
that's
has
true, yeah.
no track record of its safety with these chemicals, correct? You can't go back 50 years and say this company has a track record. Human error happens. So now you're putting these chemicals that you're burning. Now, let's say a fire happens and an explosion. Now what? Now you got to worry about when the wind shifts. You have to evacuate the whole surrounding areas. These things happen. We wouldn't have firefighter procedures and operations if these things don't happen. So by you guys voting yes, just put all these lives in danger and these little children. I just moved here within a year. I came from the city. I didn't move here to live within 2 miles of a power plant. I moved here to raise a family in a nice, blue-collar, hard-working town that sticks together and has morals. And that's why I moved here. So now I'm up here as a man to protect my family and my beautiful wife that's sitting over there. I didn't come up here to complain, as you guys already voted. I wasn't able to come here last
Just to
time.
clarify, this board does not vote on the Anelotech.
Okay.
But that's okay. We can clarify that
All
after
right.
the meeting if you want.
But just another aspect, you know, the fact that these chemicals, benzene is highly flammable. Not only are you burning it, they are transporting it. So now you're driving down Middletown Road with these chemicals. If an accident happens, a spill happens, what happens? This decon, the area of that magnitude with that many chemicals, you're talking about shutting down a whole town. You know, are you guys willing to do that to shut down and put everybody's lives in danger? Are they willing to do that? Because human error does happen. You cannot say it doesn't, because they wouldn't have all these accidents all over the world if it doesn't. Well, are you willing to bring that to Pearl River? Now, for the other aspect, are you going to get people wanting to move here? Because the way the town goes is young, hard-working couples want to raise a family here. Are they going to want to come? Would you go move next to a power plant? Are they going to sell their house, move downwind right next to the power plant if it's that safe? I don't think so. They're from Massachusetts, right? Correct? The company? So as Yankee fans, tell Red Sox fans. Tell them to go back to Massachusetts.
Well said. And Mr. Shannon, just so you know that we listen to the comments, but when you ask us questions, we're not responding because we're just listening. But each of us would have certainly something to say, and we will talk a little bit when we're finished taking public comments. Anybody else here to make a comment tonight by raise of hands? All right, seeing no hands up, I'll make a motion to close the period for public comment. Do I have a second? Over here, more? All in favor, say aye. First of all, thank you to the folks who came out to speak, and you're, as always, eloquent and fierce in your protection of the community, and I certainly respect that. I think we all do. I just wanted to say one or two things, you know, not getting into extensive clarifications or anything, but just a couple things. On Anelotech, the public health is the most important thing, and it's true. The planning board and the zoning board approved it. Each of us may have differed in our view of that. I think everybody knows how I felt about it. The process that I think is available to the town board, in which I've proposed before and will propose again on Tuesday when we have a workshop, is that we take a look at our town code. And not to go on at length, but I've been having a number of meetings with our staff, and there are some simple things that we could do to close the gap that would allow something like a Nelotech. And I will propose that amendment, and that we set a date for a hearing on changing the town code, and that we hear what people have to say and vote on it. And I don't think it's going to cover all of the possible permutations, and Mr. Mandel is right. There should be a broad and consultative process at looking at these things, but we also need to get some things on the books that need to be there and do it soon. So that will be a topic for Tuesday, and I will propose a text amendment to the town code that will prohibit the production of benzene, xylene, and toluene and related uses. Secondly, on soccer, we will have an extensive discussion of this on Tuesday. I've invited Orangetown Mighty Midgets to make a presentation on their license agreement with the town, and also other sports groups, including RFC, to talk about their leagues and their growth and how they see the field use going. I know Mr. Divany and others, including myself, have been kind of in a round robin of dialogues with the various groups. And I think at the end of the day, fairness is the most important thing. Of course, we may differ on how we measure that, but fairness is the most important thing, beyond personalities and so on. It's the kids and their access to fields, and there needs to be a fair allocation of fields. And there also needs to be public-private partnership and the financing of really wonderful sports facilities with the inclusion of private dollars in that, and the continuation of that kind of project in Orangetown. And the workshop next week will be a great time to put a lot of information on the table. So that's planned. Please come out if you're interested in that issue. And feel free to email me questions or information in the meantime. That's all I've got right now in response. And as I said, there's always a lot of great issues raised, and we can't speak to all of them. But I invite members of the town board, you're here tonight, if you want to say anything in response to folks who have commented. Maybe we should start over here on the left-hand side. Over here on the right-hand side. Mr. Troy.
Okay. I got
Mr.
it.
Moore.
Thank you, Andy. First, let me just start with one highlight that was kind of skirted through. I did go to the Tapan Library reopening, and they did a phenomenal job. They got
It's
a
true.
reading room with windows all around the side with these chairs that you could sit in. It's like, forget about Starbucks. If you live in the Tapan Library District, go there, grab a book and read it. You won't leave. You could see out on the park and the water streaming by. It's like, it's a great thing. You got to go see it. And even if you're not in the Japan district, go take a look at what they did. It's amazing. Some of the things I'm going to say on Nelotech are, to me, educational. I've been told I normally give, I think always, straight answers. So I'm just going to say this educationally. The people here may not agree with what I say, but there's other people listening as well. Just to clarify one more time, the town board did not vote on the Nelotech application. the planning board, by design, by legal design, is an independent body. You would not want the town board weighing in on planning board and zoning board decisions. You may not have liked this outcome, and I understand where you're coming from, but as a general rule, you would never want elected officials hovering above land use board. They have to be independent, and that's what happened here. Yes, we do appoint them, and when we appoint our land use board members, they're intelligent, common sense, people that love the town. And I think just by the fact that we had a split vote shows that we pick people independently that are intelligent and talented and love the town. Again, you may not have liked the outcome, but the fact that it's a split vote shows we look at all sorts of candidates. A couple of things. A few weeks back, Mr. Stewart brought up the moratorium, and I'm glad to hear now he's talking about updating the code, because that's what I suggested that night. A moratorium doesn't accomplish anything, and in this case, could have even harmed the town if it stopped in Elitech. It's up in the air, had they sued, whether we would have won or lost. Best case, we would have won and been out a lot of legal fees. Worst case, we could have lost if we picked them out, because they're the only ones that would have been affected by the moratorium. But it is important we go through and update the town code. Absolutely, we have the power to do it, as I said that night. We should start with low-hanging fruit. Let's not try to do the whole thing at once, because we'll be back here 5 years from now with nothing done. Let's pick the common sense things and get those addressed first. Mr. Stewart, with his years on the planning board and now 4 years as town supervisor, I think now he should be ready to do this and take it forward. Couple of other facts. And I'm not going to get into pros and cons on the Elitech application. Anybody wants to see that? It's good that you had your opinion here tonight. The best way to see it is to watch the meeting, as you said. This way you can see both sides presenting their case. And that's the best way to do it. Again, it's not the town board's purview. But I do know it's passed with two conditions. One is they don't get to do anything in Orangetown until they get all their New York State DEC permits. They can't start, so they still have to go through the New York State DEC permitting process. And two, they have to, or the town gets to hire a monitor at an Elitech's cost through this whole operating period. And if it fails, and this is an independent monitor, the monitor sets up their own program. It's not overseen by anybody, and if it fails, it stops. So we got those two safeguards. And just on a personal note, because I've gotten some Facebook postings accusing me of, I should be ashamed because they don't care about kids. I didn't spend most of my adult life coaching sports, teaching religion, spending years on the school board because they didn't care about kids all of a sudden. And I find that part insulting. I enjoy debate back and forth and hearing people's opinion, but there's no need to go to that extreme. That being said, hopefully I clarified some things for all those people that are listening, both here and outside.
Thanks for those comments, Mr. Moore. Mr. Troy?
Good evening, and thank you all for coming out. You know, as Tom stated, the planning board, the town board had no part in the planning board's decision. We're not allowed to have a part. Andy's comments as town supervisor could have influenced the planning board's decision. And then his Facebook posts as town supervisor could have put us in jeopardy. We were informed by the town council, of which there are 5 attorneys with probably well over 50 years of municipal experience, that we should not be involved in the planning board's decision and influence them as a sitting councilman or supervisor, that we are more than willing, if we would like, to go in our private citizen capacity and speak against the project. But when you have a Facebook page that starts out Supervisor Andy Stewart, that's not your private citizen capacity. So while you can bash us, saying that we didn't step up and do the right thing, I followed the law. By following the law, that shows integrity. So when you get on Facebook and bash me saying, I have no integrity, I don't care about this community, that's false and a lie. I care wholeheartedly about this community, and I stood up for what was right. I didn't overstep my bounds, and I didn't go above and beyond my capacity. The planning board made a decision. I think it's horrible that now you are attacking those men personally who donate their time to so much in this community. Bruce Bond has been on the school board for 28 years, almost 3 decades. And now all of a sudden, he's a horrible person. If you're unhappy with his job in the school district, and you think that the school district is not living up to your expectations, I have absolutely no problem with you going after his seat. But to go after him because of what he voted on, what do you think he got out of that? Do you know how much easier his life would have been to do what? To vote along with the Nelitech, even if he thought it was wrong? So he put himself out in the firing range because he listened to the evidence, he listened to everybody speak, he listened to the facts, and he took the hard road. That wasn't the easy road. He didn't scapegoat out, he took the hard road. So you can like it or not like it, and you know, I hear a lot of things about how Kevin Garvey didn't handle a meeting. There was a lot of disrespectful people in that auditorium. Maybe you didn't like the way he handled the meeting, but there was people screaming that you could hear from the audience, screaming things out, one after the other. People holding signs saying, I hope your kids get cancer. There were Facebook posts. I hope the planning board members are looking over their shoulder when they head to the parking lot. That's how you handle a situation? There was somebody post on Facebook, let them build it, we'll blow it up. That's what you do in the town of Friendly People? It's very disconcerting, I gotta tell you. It's very disconcerting because we got good members on that planning board, and this is a great community. I'm not embarrassed about this community. I'm not embarrassed about the building that has went on here for the last 40 or 50 years. I think this is the best community in Rockland County. And it's that best community in Rockland County because of the planning board and because how conservative they are. Because one decision didn't go the way that you wanted it to, all of a sudden we should lynch them in the streets. It's very disconcerting to me.
Tom, anything?
I think, you know, the zoning board and planning board are charged with duties, and they have to live up to those duties. And they've made their decision, and, you know, I do think we need those ratables, but, you know, I don't know. I don't know, you know, what we should do. I really don't, because you don't want that R&D facility to leave town, because it's so much of the ratable. But, you know, I see people out here that I respect, and, you know, I got some serious thinking. I don't know where I am on this issue right now, to be honest, because, I mean, there's some people out there that I respect, and, you know, I'll know more by the end of the week, and we'll see what happens, but I'm just being honest. I'm not sure on this issue right now.
Yeah, and then I want to respond to your criticisms.
Okay. I also support fully updating the town codes. If they're outdated or need to be addressed because of changing technologies, I don't know how anybody could be against that. So I am obviously in full support of updating the town codes.
Yeah, I'll speak.
Dennis?
One of the earlier speakers said that I went to the Pearl River Senior Group to advocate, I guess, for an ELATEC. I went to the Pearl River Seniors to swear in their offices. While I was waiting to swear in their offices, somebody got up with the petitions and then talked about an ELATEC, and also beat up on our land use boards and on Dan Sullivan and Kevin Garvey. I defended our land use boards. You can disagree with me, one of the speakers, or one of the other earlier speakers said that we have a history of, I guess, giving stuff to developers. I stand by what I've said in the past about this town, how it deals with developers, how it deals with development in general. Some people who just moved here, that's why you moved here, because of how this town has been built, or not built, through the years. Did we, all those people on that planning board, I believe, I appointed, including Mr. Mandel and including Mr. Dell. At times, I wasn't crazy about Mr. Dell, but I voted for him. And it's a thing where they have different personalities. We look at different skill sets that they have, you know, what they've done in the community. We have an interview process where all the members of the board interview prospective candidates. Andy, and before that, Mr. Whalen, before that, Mr. Kleiner, put out advertisements to get prospective candidates to come on our boards, all right? It's open to anybody here. You want to come in and be a board member, and if you are, all right, I'll tell you right now, there's going to be things that you do that somebody else will disagree with. But that's part of the job. It's part of the job of being up here. One of the early speakers also talked about changing the code. I changed the code one time. Put property maintenance in, the property maintenance law. At the time, I was called a communist by the earliest speaker, you know, for putting in that type of restrictive law. But hey, that's part of the deal. I believed in it. It's still, you know, it's still in law. It's an effective law. Mr. Valentine disagrees with me at times, but it's a thing where I happen to believe in the law. Should the current law that we have be updated? Probably should, all right? Are things changing? Things are changing. I still believe, and going back to the senior citizens, I sat there and I knew I should have kept my mouth shut in terms of the smart thing to do politically, and I said it. I got up and I said, smart thing to do politically is say nothing. And I defended the members of the planning board. I talked about Anelitech. I was the first member of the town board to go to any of the meetings. I went to the zoning board meeting back in October, all right? I did go to other meetings to find out the facts, all right? I also went to Anelitech. There is some people out on Facebook who say either we're stupid or basically implying we're bought and paid for. And the person was complimentary and said we weren't stupid, you know? So if not A, put your hand up. If not A, then it must be B, all right? I taught geometry and logic, all right? And it's a thing where, check my records, check anything. I have no connection whatsoever with Anelitech, nor does anybody else on this board, all right? I happen to believe the planning board and the zoning board did what they had to do legally. Now, is the best use of something up in Pfizer? No, maybe not. I, however, do not believe that it's going to be as bad as what people are saying. I believed DEC. I believe the independent consultants that we had, and the fact that we're putting in monitors going forward, and that they have to obey all the conditions that the boards put before them. You can disagree. I'm just telling you what I believe in. I'll stand on my record. There are people who say, hey, we're going to get you, we're going to get these two guys first, and then we're going to get myself and Divney. You know, it's a thing, that's the great thing about democracy, all right? I've been serving the people of town, this town, for 20 years. Now, some would say, maybe it's time for you to go. Well, again, that's what democracy is about. I'll stand on my record now, and I'll stand on my record in 2.5 years. Thank you.
I just wanted to wrap this up because there were a couple comments made that essentially called me out for something that I don't think is fair. Number one, my speaking out against Anelitech is entirely proper for an elected official. And the reason why I know that is because I served on the planning board, and I never worried about what someone might say if they were from the town board or anywhere else, other than if what they were saying sounded right or persuasive. And I think the things that I have said have sounded right and persuasive. You know, not to get into it, but there are a number of elements that I raised and others have raised that needed to be raised, and I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. This question of town board influence over the land use boards, I mean, what is influence? It is not, speaking out is what we're called upon and obligated to do. Influence is a threat, money, doing things that are underhanded. Speaking out, letting your opinion be known is entirely appropriate, and I would challenge anybody to try to find some legal reason why that shouldn't be done. I think it's actually what we're supposed to do.
Were we recommended not to speak out in our capacity as town board members and supervisors by our legal eagles here?
I was never told not to speak. And in fact,
I think we were, Andy.
I think what...
I think we can ask the board members here, and we'll poll them, and we'll see if I'm...
People's memories of what may have been said is one thing, but I looked at it carefully, and I spoke with our town attorneys, and I reviewed to the best of my ability what is improper influence and what is speaking out. And there's nothing wrong with speaking out. It's what we're supposed to do if we feel inclined, and that's what I did. And clearly there are methods of improper influence or unfair influence, and those are the things that would be excluded. But speaking out, speaking your mind in public is what the system and democracy is set up for people to do.
When you were on the planning board, did any member of the town board ever appear before you as an advocate?
I'm going to, you know what? If the
answer is no, but...
Right, and so I guess the question would be, if a town board member failed to do that but should have, why were they sitting on their hands? That would be the question. So, I don't... And I do think that there are, and I'm happy that we can go forward with a code update process, and you don't have to wait, but I am working on it, and you're welcome to participate, Tom, or anybody else.
Do you think it's fair the way they're bashing the planning board members?
I am absolutely against bashing, and I have Facebook against bashing, and I appreciate
Do you think that the personal attacks that they're doing on the planning board members and zoning board members and the town board members is fair, Andy?
No, and you know what?
Because you were a member of the planning board.
And I've had my head superimposed on weird images on Facebook and been called all sorts of terrible names, and never...
Well, how come you don't speak out against that?
I have spoken out against it, and if you want to go back over Facebook and see that, you know very well that I have been subjected to some absolutely horrible and abusive forms of social media over this Anelitech thing, and we've talked about that, and it's absolutely improper. And what I role model in my speaking out is always sticking, to what I consider to be real information and argument, and I never engage in any impolite or discourteous or bashing behavior. And I hope that action speaks for itself, but I'll continue to try to calm people down when I see them acting inappropriately. And I think it's terrible when people make threats, or when they kind of go off on social media in ways that they probably themselves would regret later on, and wouldn't do that right when they're sitting at the table with somebody. We all need to sort of remember and focus on etiquette in the social media sphere, because things get out of hand pretty fast. But having said that, speaking out in public forums is exactly what we're supposed to do, and I'm proud of how I've done that. And I do look forward to having the support of the town board when I come back around for a second time with a proposal for code changes. And it is complex, and there are things that need to be sorted out. But I think we can say, for starters, that we can amend under prohibited uses and include benzene, toluene, and xylene in a list of chemicals. Sorry, guys. I appreciate that, but there's no meter up here for how loud the applause is. But and there's a couple other things too. And so I would like to get that done as soon as possible, and then continue our code review process into other areas of the town code. Frankly, it's an important process, and every town should go through it. But you got to start with the stuff that's most important. And I think that's enough on that for right now. Thank you very much. If there's no further comments, I'd like to get going on our agenda for the night. Thank everybody for coming out tonight. There's a copy of agenda on the table outside the door, and if you want to listen in and sort of see how things go, you're welcome to do that. A couple of quick announcements, and I thank Mr. Buckley for mentioning, I think it was Mr. Buckley, the Great American Cleanup earlier. This coming weekend, Tappan, Sparkill, and Orangeburg. Last weekend was Pearl River and Blauvelt, and both of those cleanups are great, and you can see those piles of trash bags all over the place. Highway Department's going to get them, and we appreciate the volunteer efforts on that. It's really a wonderful outpouring of support, and it's great to see the youth and the college students as well taking leadership roles. Let's see. And there's another announcement here that Shredding Day, where you can bring your credit card bills and other materials that you don't want to throw in the recycling, will be on Tuesday, May 12th at 4:30 to 7:30, and you can talk to the town clerk for more information. But again, it's Tuesday, May 12th, 4:30 to 7:30. There'll be a truck parked out front, and you can bring boxes of old bills and so on, and they'll be shredded. You don't have to worry about identity theft or fraud after that. Any other announcements from members of the town board that not hearing any? Let's see. First item on the agenda is number 1. This is approved project graduation funding. And the schools are listed here with the amounts of money. Can I hear a motion for this resolution, please? On the right, Tom Moore. Dennis, you want to second it? All right. I have a second over here. Valentine, all in favor say aye. All right, and those numbers were adjusted a bit from last time because it's based on the number of kids, not on what they ask for. It's real important that we provide alternatives to graduation parties that get out of hand. Number 2 is a budget calendar. It's pretty much the same calendar every year, and it kind of lays it out there. And of course, there's some items that we'll do kind of in between a bit in terms of facilities tour and presentations by department heads and so on and so forth. Do I hear a motion for this resolution? Budget stuff, Moore, second over here. Divany, all in favor say aye. All righty. This is the East Ramapo Central School District resolution that's been promoted and passed in other towns, and I think it's a good one. I know about 400 people went to Albany today to lobby on behalf of this kind of material, and more will be going in the hopes that the school system will have proper oversight and serve the people.
What's the problem there in the school district?
The problem in the school district? There's a whole bunch of whereases here that describes it, but essentially I think it's fiscal problems brought on by a lack of representation to the entire community. But I don't know if I'm overgeneralizing here, but there's a lot of text here, which I'm sure you've reviewed. Do you want to speak to the matter before we have a vote? Okay. Mr. Troy asked. I do feel strongly about it, actually. And, well, for a variety of reasons. I'll make a motion for it. Do I hear a second? Second from Troy. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. So number 4 is the renaming of streets, where you're now going to have Happy Camper Way on the Kaufman Campgrounds in Pearl River, and that will help to expedite 911 emergency response, the street name. Who wants to make a motion for that one?
I'll move it because it makes me smile every time I
Right. All right, we have a motion from Tom Moore, a second from over here. Valentine, all in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Number 5 is 5, 7. Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Divany to consolidate all the event-related ones. 5, 7. No. That's not a event one, Tom. Soapbox Derby. All right. 16. If we're going to do all events, there's a showmobile. 16. Let's keep on going here. Okay, Teresa. We are going to take a vote on event-related support. It includes item number 5. item number 7. I'm sorry, item number 5, not item number 7. Item number 8, St. Thomas Aquinas. Number 9, Pearl River Hook and Ladder. Number 10, Tapan Memorial Day. Number 12, Orangeburg Fire Association Carnival. And number 15, the Soapbox Derby. And 16, the Showmobile. All right, so all of those together, do I hear a motion for that resolution? How about over here? Move from Divany, second. Dennis, can I get you in? Troy, all in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. It's a great reminder of how many good things happen in this town every weekend. Okay, so where does that leave us? So we took care of 5, so we're on number 6. This is a bond release. Move from Divany, second from myself. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Number 7, another bond release. All right. I'll make the motion. Do I hear a second? More. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Skipping down to number 11. This is the contract with Cornell Cooperative Extension for MS4 requirements. That's stormwater runoff. I'll make a motion for that. Do I hear a second? Divany, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Now we're on number 13, which is the awarding of a bid for traffic and pedestrian control signals and devices to Verdi Electric. I'll make a motion for that. Do I hear a second? From Divany, all in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Number 14 is the bridge project that our superintendent of highways told us about last week. So on and so forth. Do I hear a motion for this? All right, from Divany. Second from Moore. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. It's a pretty big deal that they're going to be replacing the bridge on Orangeburg Road over the railroad there. That's a big bridge. That's a big bridge. And at the same time, the state's going to be building a pedestrian bridge just north of that for the new trail. So a lot of activity on that section of the railroad. Number 17 is the golf gold card for Stu Sharples. Do you hear a motion for this one? From Paul, maybe, from the golf committee? Yeah. From Valentine, do you hear a second over here? Anybody want it? More, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Number 18, this is another bid award for the resurfacing of tennis courts, and we heard from our park superintendent last week about why that's necessary and how it will improve things. So I'll certainly make a motion for that. Do I hear a second? On Valentine, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right, Teresa, we're not going too fast, right? Okay. This number 19 is for Parks employee, a wonderful longtime town employee, Mark Albert, to attend a New York State Recreation and Parks Conference. And I'll make a motion for that. Do I hear a second? Over here? More? All in favor say aye. Aye. Number 20. This is the appointment of David Majewski as Assistant Building Inspector on the recommendation of our Personnel Department, obviously after review in terms of qualifications and eligibility and the process and so on and so forth. I know we had this on the agenda a few weeks or a month ago, and it was reviewed again. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? Second for Moore. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Congratulations to Mr. Majewski and to the building department. Number 21. This is Janice Ganley, Supervisor Fiscal Services. It's an appointment going to permanent status with no change in salary. Do I hear a motion for this? Divany, second from Moore. All in favor say aye. Aye. Appreciate Janice's hard work in the finance department with Jeff, who's sitting here and will take us through our audit in a few minutes. Number 22 is for Police Officer Harold Johnson to go to Emergency Preparedness Conference. And that's taking place, I think, in New Jersey. So it's just a short trip and very inexpensive. I'll make a motion for that. Do I hear a second? Second over here. from Troy. All in favor say aye. And certainly recognition to Professor Officer Johnson and all the others, the ambulance and the fire companies and the dispatchers and everybody else who coordinates on emergency response. It's just amazing. Highway Department, Parks Department, Building Department. Number 23, right? Another training, this is for the Chief of Police. Do I hear a motion for this one? Over here. Motion for this? Divany, Valentine, second? All right, we got two. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. 24. All right, this is a law enforcement seminar for Captain James Brown. I'll make a motion for that. Do I hear a second? Over here, more. All in favor say aye. Thank you. Number 25, certificates of registration for 2 companies to do sewer work in Orangetown. Who wants to make a motion for this one? How about over here? From Divany, second from Valentine. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Number 26 is the point at Lake Tapan. We've actually been getting phone calls from people who want to live there, and from people who are worried about all the trees being cut down.
I've gotten a number of calls from people who want to know if there's a list.
Same.
So,
I've reached out through their attorney, and we have yet to get any kind of designation of who's their contact person for the,
well,
if it's possible to get on a list. Have you heard any differently?
they reached out to the client, and the client will be establishing a list, because I've gotten a call from a number of realtors. So there will be a list that, we can put it on the website.
That's a great idea. So as soon as you have anything on that, please let me know, and I'll do the same. If we start directing those calls to someone who actually runs the place.
It's for 55 plus,
55 and over.
and it's rentals
Rentals.
in a gated community with the pool, with a community room.
It's mid to high end,
Well, I didn't say it was low end,
No.
it's what it is. It's higher
is
end.
what-
There's a gated community. It's
No, they've got the clubhouse, they've got a
clubhouse, I believe,
game
is in
room.
the set house.
Yep.
And there's some nice facilities over there. People are excited
Can't
about it.
save them all, though.
Well, I mean, on the tree question, it is always a little kind of shocking when you see a development project take place. In this case, the project was actually consolidated to use less of the land. So there are more trees being preserved than in the first version of it.
Well, they clustered the housing.
They
so
clustered
had
it
to
up.
take less trees down.
Exactly. And the other matter there that we need to keep an eye on is the preservation of the Seth Perry House, and Ms. Cardenas mentioned that earlier. What I've asked the developer for is basically a written plan, like what's the restoration plan? We know that they're committed. They negotiated with the town board to spend $300,000 or more to make sure that building is set up and put back into use. I'd just like to know, what's included in that work, and I encourage them to prioritize that rather than letting it sit there, and do it last. I think it's important to get on top of it, because it's certainly fallen into disrepair over the last few years. I think that when we negotiate these things, I don't know if it was considered at the time, but sometimes a project, because of finance or market concerns, takes a lot longer to get done than we might expect, and a house like that, really, with the rain falling on it over a number of years, it's not a good thing. So, something to think about next time around, kind of put a deadline on it. Number 27, oh wait, do we have our vote on the point? I'll make a motion for the point. This is the performance bond, and I have a second from Divany. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. 27 is a tax cert. This is from our assessor upon recommendation, and Dennis Michaels, town attorney. And we reviewed this before. Do I hear a motion for this? For Moore, second from Divany. All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Number 28 is Blauvelt Fire Department appointments. And there are 2 gentlemen mentioned here. I'll make a motion for this. All right, why don't we have Paul Valentine do it, since he probably lives and knows the fire department the best. All right, do I hear a second over here? For Moore, all in favor say aye. Let's see. And we have received file by the clerk's office of several documents. All right, I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? The second is from Divany. All in favor, say aye. And I will note on the street light, something I wanted to mention before, and the town, by resolution a week or two ago, commissioned the services of Daniel Duthie, who does a lot of streetlight deals and rate cases when O&R, United Water, tries to jack up rates on us. And he's chasing after the case, and he's given us, and I've made copies for you, and they're sitting in your packets and in your email boxes, his cost-benefit analysis of the savings the town stands to see once we close on the purchase of the streetlights, because the rate for delivery of electricity is so much lower when a municipality owns their lights as opposed to when O&R owns them. So please take a look at that, and we'll just keep pushing it along to the point where we have a sale agreement that we can vote on. All right, number 30 is actually that was a approve aid one that we didn't consolidate before, but this is for Homes for Heroes for 50 folding chairs. I'll make a motion for this. Do I hear a second? Over here, Troy, all in favor say aye. So, excuse me for hitting the microphone with my pen. Number 31, payment of vouchers. And Jeff Bensick will lead us through that.
Okay, the audit for tonight's meeting consists of 2 warrants for a total of $2,368,059.07. The first warrant consists of 2 vouchers for $1,537,000 and was for utilities slash insurance transfers. The second warrant consists of 211 vouchers for $830,559 and includes the following items of interest. Number 3, the Workers' Comp Board, $17,000 for 1 quarter 2015 contribution for the Workers' Comp Board. Number 4, D. Laji Langen, $13,000 for golf cart rentals at Blue Hill. Number 5, $11,000 for ESC Environmental Sewer Chemicals. Number 7, $17,000 for Frontline for police communications. Number 11, $12,000 for MetLife Police Dental Insurance. Number 13, $598,000 for CSEA Healthcare Insurance.
Jeff, just refresh my memory, the $598,000 for the healthcare insurance, that's for a month?
Yes,
Month, not quarter.
correct. And then Tilcon, $8,000 for highway materials, number 17. Any questions on the audit?
Motion to accept this audit. Move from Divany, second over here from Moore. All in favor say aye. All right, the ayes have it on that one. Now, Jeff, you also have the budget transfer spreadsheet here.
Yes, this is, once again, it's, these are the budget amendments that the auditors have recommended. It's net neutral again, and so this should be the last round of that.
Okay, let's see the last one. Okay, good.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the following amendments and transfers?
So, you want to-
What move? Do you have a
Yeah,
discussion?
second, yeah.
I'll second it.
No, I
Discussion?
second it. No.
Go ahead.
No, I have an extra one. We're voting, I'm in favor of that.
Okay,
That's fine.
all in favor on number 32, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Sorry, Dennis, I thought you wanted.
What happened to the resolution they asked for, you know, to be sent to Mr. Carlucci, Jaffe, and Zabrowski?
You know what? That was just today, and I'm not sure that we finished that. I don't see it here. So,
It was basically fine the way it was, you know?
Yeah.
I know you,
no, I wrote it quickly, and I asked Kate to put it together, but it didn't get all the way through to the packets. Excuse me? Do you have a copy of it?
put it on the workshop next week.
Yeah,
and
why don't we
pass
just
it.
do
My only concern is that they usually end their sessions in June. we need relief in this session from the state senate and the assembly dealing with the community college, and
That's absolutely true.
particularly dealing with the Fashion Institute of Technology, where we are responsible for chargebacks on not only the 2-year degree, but on the 4-year degree and a graduate degree, which I would think Sheldon Silver was behind that, being it's down somewhere down in his district down there. That boondoggle went in years ago because it's absolutely outrageous.
In putting together the background for that, I think it makes a lot of sense to call upon our state legislators to try to stop the county from charging the towns for a portion of the tuition to the community colleges for town residents. And we've certainly discussed that. Actually, the town board did a sign-on letter, but that was directed, I think the sign-on letter we did was directed at the county, and then we didn't get charged for 2015, but we've been informed that we will be charged for 2016.
Well,
And
that's
so now we got to try to see if we can get the state people to prohibit the county from doing that charge back to the towns,
Well,
whether
it's
it's for
'cause the
FIT
county-
or for all of them.
The county tried to dump it on us in the middle of last year when our budget was already set. So they put it off until this year. Now they're being very kind, giving us a lot of warning, on their part. But to me, the relief really needs to come from the state. The county is saying that they can do this, that they can charge back, all right? But the problem is still at the state level, when we have all these mandates and we are not getting relief from Albany. So, again, I don't think the county should do it to us, but the state senator and the assembly woman and assemblymen have to step up to the plate.
Yeah, I did speak with Senator Carlucci about it today, and also reached out to Ellen Jaffe's office. And there are pieces of legislation which all of them have sponsored and supported, but I wanted to get an update as to where exactly they stand, if there's any chance of passage, and what we can do to try to influence that, which I think we should always try, but I don't have high hopes that we'll be able to get those guys to get all of their colleagues to pass a law that changes whether or not the county can charge back for FIT or community colleges. It's a long shot, but we have to try, and I'm all for that. So I'll have that ready for you at the workshop session. We'll do a letter that we can all sign, and we'll do a resolution, sending it on its way, and then we'll follow up and see. Dennis, the reason actually why I didn't have it done, just so you know, is because I wanted to be able to specify exactly which bills in the Assembly and Senate we want them to support. And that information wasn't quickly in hand. So rather than write kind of a very general resolution, I thought we could make it specific. So thanks for that. Any other questions or comments?
I
Yes,
have a
sir.
request. Some months back, we approved as a board the study for the effect of Obamacare on the town, because you said it could be up to $300,000 if we don't do it right. And I don't believe we've gotten it, but I think I saw it up on the bulletin board outside the courtroom. If that's it. It was Affordable Care Act effect on Orangetown, which sounds a lot like what we're looking for.
Yeah, there's, Jeff, what's the status of the Harbridge analysis?
No, we have received that, so,
It's up on, I think it's up on the bulletin board, but we don't have a copy yet.
I will get you a copy.
That would be great.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, go grab it.
Yeah, go check the bulletin board.
No. No, I had a nice cover sheet and everything else on it.
They only put the $10,000.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, you want to just give us a little bit of a lowdown on it for starters?
Workshop.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're not in a rush. All right, I'll make a motion to close the meeting. Do I have a second? Over here? Oh, I'm sorry, is there something else? All right, sorry, let's see. All right, that's the O&R streetlights. We have been congratulated as a Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation. Paul, I'm looking for something that you were referencing in here. Was there one other matter that we needed to talk about? Oh, I'm sorry. So I made a motion to close out our meeting, and it's in memory of 3 individuals, 2 of whom were known to me quite well. And that's Teresa Barazzi, who's a wonderful artist in Nyack. Died at 61 years old, far too young. She's greatly missed. And Louise Peresky, who was an active member of the Nyack Library Book Group, an English professor, and a sort of freelance accountant, and we will miss her sorely as well. And also we have Marianne Matheson here, if anybody wants to speak to her memory. Okay, thank you very much. So in memory of Marianne Matheson, Teresa Barazzi, and Louise Peresky, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second? Over here from Valentine, all in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you so much.